Hey y'all, I'm Zap, and welcome to Founders Only by the Lighthouse. My next guest spent a decade in the field. He was swinging hammers, crawling under houses, and doing the actual work. He watched customers get overcharged and good technicians get shortchanged. And instead of just being frustrated about it, he decided to build something. Eric Schell is the co-founder and CEO of OneTap, an AI-powered repair infrastructure platform that connects businesses directly to skilled technicians, cuts out the unnecessary layers, and brings transparency back to an industry that's been broken for a long, long time. Before OneTap, Eric built and ran businesses in the Nashville real estate and trade spaces. He's not a guy who read about this problem in a pitch deck. He's someone who actually lived it. Now he's on a mission to build the most trusted repair platform in the country and prove that the best person to fix a broken industry is someone who actually knows how it works. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Zap. Appreciate it.
Of course. All right. So as I said, you spent 10 years with your hands in the work, fixing homes, fixing businesses. What was the moment that you said, I have to build something to fix this?
Yeah, it was just, being in the field, seeing it firsthand, the frustration. I worked with, quite a few residential clients as well as commercial as well. And it was just a frustrating thing that kept happening time and time again. There's actually kind of a story that goes into how I discovered there's this massive need and where I was like, enough is enough. And I got a call to go out and fill a crack. There's a crack in the floor of a big warehouse shoe store out in Bellevue, Tennessee. So I get this call. It's from a third-party contracting company. They're offshore. So they essentially just go down Google and search in the area and find someone that can do the job. So I get a call and they say, hey, there's a small crack in the floor. It needs to be repaired. So I'm like, okay, not a big deal. Told them my price. And they're like, you need to show up there before they open. I said, awesome. So I go to Home Depot, I get a tube of crack filler, it's a small little tube, drive over to the store, knock on the door, manager comes out. First thing, they're just looking at me strange, like something's wrong. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, that's all you got with you? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, okay, let's show you the crack. So I walk in there and they show me this crack in the floor and it goes 500 feet long. It's 2 to 3 inches wide. There is hair ties, gum wrappers in this. So it's been there for a long time. And I'm sitting there with a single tube of crack filler staring at it. And right off the bat, I'm like, okay, I was not expecting this. All I got was there was a small crack in the floor. So it was a communication breakdown right from the get-go. And then I had to say, unfortunately, I don't have everything I need. So I'm going to have to reschedule. And I got other people. So it's going to be another 2 to 3 weeks before I can get back out here. But it's one of our core values now called Curiosity Creates. And I always talk about just being genuinely curious. And that's what I was in the moment. And I was like, I have a couple questions for you. I was like, first of all, why has this been here for so long? I can tell there's hair ties, gum wrappers. And it was a district manager that was actually there at the time. And she said, well, no one just filled out a maintenance request form for it. I said, okay, how do you do that? And they go, oh, well, you have to go into our computer and there's this back-end system you have to log into. It prints out this form, you fill it out, and then you fax it over to corporate. Corporate reaches out then to the third-party contracting company. They reach out to you, and then here you are. So it's I always compare it to the game of telephone you used to play as a kid where you say one thing, it goes through 20 different people. Yeah. By the time it gets to the last person, there's this whole confusion of what actually is the issue, which happened to me. So, I asked her, I'm like, so if there's an emergency, how long does it take to get something fixed? Oh, it could be, 1 to 2 weeks. And then she's like, non-emergencies, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I mean, we still have stuff around here. So it really got my gears turning. After that, I went to Chase Bank. I had to deposit a check. So I asked them, I said, hey, how do you go about submitting a maintenance request? Let's say your toilet's broken. Oh, well, you go to a back-end system, you print off this form. It's archaic, right? It's an area that hasn't been updated with technology in a very long time. And I kept going around to all these these are Fortune 500 companies. And it's this bottleneck process to submit maintenance when there's an issue. So kept me up all night that night. I was up till like 1, 2 a.m. just thinking about, I'm like, what if there was a way we could have like a that's easy button that you just press and maintenance shows up and they're there immediately. I'm like, well, I can't ship out, a million that's easy buttons to every single store across the United States, but everyone has a phone on them. So I'm like, maybe I could have a digital button, and things just kept growing and growing. Next thing I know, I'm jumping out of my bed at 2 a.m. I'm writing on sticky notes, putting them all over the wall about this OneTap idea, and it really took off from there.
That's awesome. Well, tell me more about this idea. You described OneTap that you're trying to tear down layers of the middlemen. What exactly is the middleman, and like how does OneTap really displace them and make it easier?
Yeah, so current process right now, if you look at the construction space as a whole, especially the services-based side, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, handyman services, it's a very outdated space. It's a manual process, and it's a tough business to run. And I know firsthand because we had a business called Your Pros. We had about 20 W-2 employees, different various contractors outside of that, where we're doing exactly that. And there's heavy overhead. I need, first, if I'm going to start a service-based industry, I need a big warehouse, right? Got to put my tools somewhere. Oh, I need the tools. I need people to do the work. And then, I'm going to need trucks for them to drive along with. Now I need admin to handle all the paperwork. And I don't want my technicians going out there doing the estimates. Now I get estimators. Next, I'm adding all this overhead and all of these layers of, complexity in the process, which adds to time to get someone out. And the biggest thing is it's markups. So because I have all this overhead now, I need to charge a 40, 60% markup on every single one of my jobs in order to, have money at the end of the day and keep the lights on for my business. And you see it across the entire industry. And I think that is the root cause. I call it the garbage disposal crisis, because it's like when we look across the entire United States and you say, hey, I need a quote to get my garbage disposal replaced. A garbage disposal costs $100 at Home Depot. But when you get the bill from the plumber, it's $800. Why are these small repairs and fixes costing so much right now? And if the material is only $100, where's that $700 going? So everyone's saying, wow, all these, electricians, the plumbers, they're all making a killing. Well, they're not, because most service-based companies, they pay 25% performance-based commission to the technicians that are doing the work. So if the people actually doing the work are only making 25% of an $800 job and the material is $100, where's the rest of that money going? It's the overhead. So what we did is simply automated all of that overhead. We have AI that can create an estimate, use the exact materials and SKU numbers that you'd find from Home Depot. So it takes the guesswork out of price, right? I'm not sitting there. We basically, instead of you getting that quote and going on Google or going on ChatGPT or asking your neighbor who's a contractor, hey, is this a fair price? We already do that. We go through and give a fair market rate. It's called a true rate estimate instantly based on a conversation, a chat that you have with our AI Alex. And then from there, we actually schedule up a qualified OneTap technician. These are people we run through background checks, make sure they have the proper licensing. And we also make sure that they carry a COI, certificate of insurance, of $1 million plus. So you know that if I'm a business, there's an issue where someone says, yeah, I can fix that, water heater. They come over and they go, hey, actually I'm kind of just a handyman and this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I think you're going to need to call an actual plumber. And then you're back to the drawing board for another 2-3 weeks to get a plumber out to fix that issue. We make sure that all of our technicians are qualified. When they say they're a plumber, we have the license. We know that they are a plumber and they're capable of doing that job. So the right person's there every single time to fix whatever the issue is at your place.
Mm-hmm. And can you talk to me now about where is OneTap at right now? And who are you serving and how do you really help them?
So it's been a long journey. We started almost 2 years ago, and we've been kind of in a beta stealth startup stage where we've been meeting with customers. We had the Your Pros business, which is perfect to meet with service providers, technicians.
And so that was your previous home maintenance services business. Mm-hmm. looked like most other home maintenance businesses.
Exactly. And we're just getting feedback the entire time of, hey, what would you like to see if we built an app that could make maintenance easy, seamless, and more cost effective? And through that beta and that early testing, took all this feedback in and have been working on building this app. And we just launched officially this past Monday. So very excited. We're, going out to all different restaurants, and, I feel like that's the impact. I previously worked in sales at a Fortune 500 company as well, while also doing a lot of the construction work. But from the sales side, you have a good product market fit when you can go to 10 people and each of those people smile ear to ear and go, oh my gosh, this is something, how did you think of this? This is something I need. And that's when we really knew, hey, we're really hitting the nail on the head with this. And this is an area that has been forgotten about in the technology boom. We're doing the same thing that we've been doing 50, 60, 70 years ago, where I want to start a construction business, big warehouse, trucks, equipment, tools, people. And the issue is you have a lot of private equity companies coming in and buying up these services-based businesses. And they look at two sides of it. They say, okay, we want to improve this. We can either tackle this overhead issue that's 40, 60% markups it's causing, where we got to invest probably millions of dollars in technology, infrastructure, et cetera, or we can raise the prices. And every single time, the easiest thing to do is raise the prices, which is why we're seeing a garbage disposal cost $800. What we did differently is we said, how are we actually going to attack the problem? The problem is the industry itself and the way we've been doing it the same for 50, 60, 70 years. Tackle the overhead, automate that, clean it up using AI and different technology resources we have today. And what that does, it creates savings that we can pass along to the customer where they're getting a better price. And then the technicians can actually make more. Instead of paying them 25%, we can pay the technicians 87% for doing the same exact work, same exact job,
Wow.
everything.
So right now you're working with restaurant owners and fixing their problems. Can you tell me, how would a restaurant owner use OneTap? Like, what does that actually look like?
Yep. So again, tons of feedback that we've received. The biggest thing as an owner, myself, talking to other owners, we always want to be the person that handles the issues, right? Initially. And then we realize we're running around, basically wearing the contractor's cap. And that's what we're seeing at a lot of restaurants, especially if you have multiple locations. What happens is something goes wrong. A toilet, is clogged. And then employees immediately reach out either through phone call, email, et cetera, and all boils up to that primary decision maker, typically the owner or an ops manager. And direct feedback we've gotten from an ops manager was, I feel like I'm the bottleneck because everything comes up to me. I'm trying to make sure that we're running payroll. I'm trying to manage opening up a new store. And on top of all these things that I'm supposed to do,
Now you have to worry about a clogged toilet.
A clogged toilet or a light bulb that's out, something that's like very simple. And they're like, I don't have the time to get to it. And then everyone's getting mad at me and I feel like I'm the bottleneck. So what we do is take that pain, stress, and frustration off of that owner, off of that ops manager by creating an automated system. So like how it would work in a restaurant, let's say I'm at a bar, right? And I have a bar, 3 stories, the top floors open up to the elements. So you see that the coolers will go down a lot because you got heat, you're opening up the door a ton, it's outside elements in the summertime. So cooler goes down. We have something called a request tag. And what a request tag does is there's NFC with it. So all you have to do is tap it with your phone. Anyone can tap it. So if I'm the bartender there, it could be right on my cash register. I go up, I tap it, and instantly a chat opens where it's like I'm talking to my neighbor down the road of what's wrong. Hey, my cooler's down, blah, 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 blah. From there, we build an estimate in seconds of here's the labor, here's the exact materials to fix this, and then it pings over to the app of the decision maker. And when they get that ping, they open it up, they see here's the photo, here's the location, here's all the issues, the actual chat conversation my employee had. Here's the estimate with the labor and materials. Do you accept or do you decline? And it's as simple as that. Like, it's in the name OneTap. And that's like our goal is to make everything as simple as OneTap. So if I'm that decision-making owner, everything's there, and I can say, yep, we need to get this fixed. I hit accept. And then what happens is we use AI matching to bring a qualified OneTap technician, match it to the job. They're showing up, fixing it, and you're getting it done. You're not going through the Rolodex, trying to call every single HVAC appliance person just for them to say, hey, I'm actually out of town, and I'm back to the drawing board again. We've talked with people where they said, hey, I've tried to call like 4 to 5 big name maintenance and services companies to come out. 0 of them even showed up to do an estimate. And that's the most frustrating part is like, hey, I just want an estimate, someone to come out here and give me a price, and they can't get anyone out there to even give them that.
Yeah. I've definitely felt running the Lighthouse, like the hardest problems to solve are oftentimes the simplest problems because they're not worth it to the technicians to even come solve.
Right, because they're getting 25%.
They're getting 25%. And
so why would they?
If the fix is $200, it's like not worth it. And so, yeah, you just have problems that you're like, no one wants to solve this problem for me. I'm like dying to pay someone money, but it's just like, I don't know. I need help like replacing a doorknob and stuff. You
and
know,
it's impossible to find someone to come out and do that because you're either calling a big name place and they don't want to entertain it because they're not making
and then
time.
they're charging you like an arm and a leg. And I can only imagine, I don't know, running a coffee shop and your barista's jobs is not to fix the toilet, but then you also can't get in touch with the plumber for less than $1,000 pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah. A prep fridge goes down and, you know, there's health codes with that. If it's reading higher temperatures, next thing you know, your team that's supposed to be out there taking care of the customers, moving all the food to the walk-in cooler. And some places even shut down their kitchen completely, which means they're losing out on revenue every single second that prep fridge is down. But then you run into that issue of like, hey, we're trying to call these people. No one's showing up. Now it's a week and the cooler's still down and everyone's complaining. And I'm trying to run a business here.
Yeah.
But I'm getting tied down with these simple repairs, but I just can't get the right people out for the right price too.
So can you tell me, like, what does the technician side of OneTap look like? Like, how do you find the technicians? How do you recruit them? And how do you vet them?
Yeah, so a lot easier, actually. For myself, I've been in the field for 10 plus years swinging the hammer, so I know that side of the business.
I should say you're the handiest person I've ever met. I've met some handy people in my lifetime, and when Eric fixes something, it's like... he's like a magic man. I feel like it's just passion. Like instantaneous. It's incredible to witness.
I love doing it. It's my passion. And you know, it's very easy for myself to, you know, put myself in those people's shoes because I was that person.
Yeah, you did it.
And that's what makes us different as well is I feel like a lot of people are trying to create, you know, a OneTap type model for maintenance and repairs. But the issue is they're always focusing on like the customer of like, oh, I'm going to make it so that, you know, the fee is less or that, you know, we can get, you know, people out faster, et cetera, which of course we're doing all of that, but they completely forget about the technician. Where a lot of these companies that are out there that are matchmaking technicians and people, they're simply marketing agencies. They charge a lead. So I would have to pay like $100 for a lead. And they send that same lead to like 6, 7, 8 other people.
Yeah. So you're talking about like Angie's List, Thumbtack, TaskRabbit.
Yep.
They're designed for the consumer and they're not designed for the best interest of the technician.
They're just marketing companies at the end of the day. And then the hard part is too, they stop right when the pain starts. They'll match you up and then they say, okay, we're hands off. And then you have to get the estimate. You have to get the invoice. You have to communicate of when they're showing up and everything else. And that's like the real painful part, right?
Yeah.
Like I can go down Google and find people, but like I want help with scheduling and knowing when they're on their way so I know what time I need to be there if I need to meet them for something. So they kind of just match it up. They made their money, right? Their primary source of revenue is from the ad spend, from the technicians, people doing the work. So as soon as they get their cut, they're like, we're out of here. And then it just leaves the customer having that communication back and forth. And that's where we're different. You know, we continue that conversation, that transaction all the way from start to finish of when the job's completed. It's completed up to the customer standards. But for the technicians, my biggest frustrations, I was staying up till 2, 3 a.m., sometimes wouldn't even sleep, writing estimates because I had so many estimates that I had to send out to people. So just that automation itself of, hey, I know the estimate's already created. It's at a fair price. I can see it before I accept a job, right? And then when I accept it, I'm not paying $100 in advance and not even knowing if I'm going to get the job. The job's already paid for. We're kind of like an escrow for that payment transaction in between the two. So I know the money's there. I know the details, the photos, all the questions. I have the estimate. All I have to do is show up and do the work. I don't even have to chase down invoices.
And you know how much you're going to get paid. You're kind of signing up for, all right, it's almost like, you know, I hate to compare it to something if this isn't accurate, but like an Uber driver knows before they accept the ride how much money,
exactly,
like how long the ride is and how much money the ride is going to make them. And it's just like, do the job. And I would imagine a lot of technicians, like they became plumbers or electricians to fix things. They didn't become them to deal with scheduling, keeping up with getting paid, fighting with customers over how much they...
Feels like that's 60, 70% of it when you're out there. It's all that admin paperwork. You ask any technician, skilled trade worker out there, they're going to say, that is the part I hate the most. And I swing the hammer all day. When I get home at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, then I have to open up my computer and write all the estimates and send them out. Then I got 2, 3, 4 weeks of invoices that my customers aren't paying that I have to track down as well. So we really, make that life a lot simpler for them. And the biggest thing too is we took the model from kind of Instacart, where they have virtual cards. So if I'm an Instacart shopper, I go out, I can get all the groceries, and I use a virtual card. So I'm not fronting the money as I'm shopping it. The number one thing stopping technicians, skilled trade workers from leaving, a larger services-based company is that they don't have the free cash flow to support going out there and doing jobs, especially the material side of things.
Yeah.
I could do, when I was swinging the hammer, probably $300 to $400, $500 jobs in a day. And I could do that each day, boom, boom, boom. If you say $250 of that $500 job is materials, well, you add that up for a day, then you do a week, then you have 2 weeks. Next thing you know, I need $10,000, $20,000 in my bank account to support those materials. Oh, wait, now my customers in those first 2 weeks aren't paying me on time. So now I need $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in my bank account.
Yes.
So what we did is we created virtual cards for the technicians. So now when I accept a job, I see the materials there. What happens when a customer pays, we have kind of 2 buckets, 2 bank accounts that are created in like seconds. One's for the labor, one's for the material. That virtual card's tied to that material. They go out, purchase the materials from Home Depot. We have it down to the exact SKU number. So if you get beef jerky and Coca-Cola and try and check out, transactions declined.
Really?
Yep. It's the exact materials that are needed to do the job they purchase. So they don't have to front any of their money for the materials. They go out, they complete the job. Once that job is completed and it's up to your standards, you leave a review, that labor is then distributed over to the technician.
Yeah. I definitely understand the pain I never understood before I became an entrepreneur, but just like cash flow management. And then once I did become an entrepreneur, I'm like, oh my God, I always have like 20 grand sitting on my credit cards.
Yep.
And I'll feel broke, but then I'm like, but wait, people owe me 50 grand.
Yes. You're always chasing it down.
And it's like this constant revolving door. And it's just different to live with. And I'm lucky that I have a lot of credit to be able to hold that capacity on a credit card.
Which is what it takes.
But there's a lot of people that like, if they might not be able to access that amount, that line of credit.
100%. When I first went out and started my business on my own, I'm like, okay, I need to get some more tools, things like that. So I'm like, I'm gonna go get an SBA loan, right? So I walked over to the bank, say, hey, I need an SBA loan. I'm gonna start a new business. I'm gonna have $100,000, $150,000 to start off. And I had a few rental properties at the time because I was flipping my own homes and then renting them out. So it's not like I had zero, but they're like, well, you're not 2 years in business. This is brand new. You have a little bit of some equity here in these homes. We'll give you 20 grand. And I was like, oh, that's going to last me like 2 weeks. I do a $5,000 job, a $10,000 job. Like, that's hardly anything. And I think that's the misconception is like, get into the construction space, you need money because it's something where it's a free cash flow issue.
Yeah, you need stuff.
So it's impossible for people to leave a company that's giving them, the jobs, the materials, the truck, and everything else, because the number one thing stopping them is having that free cash flow. And they can't go to a bank because a bank won't give it. It's a tough space to break out of, but that's what we're doing, is just enabling that independence.
And I mean, you've really been like a founder in like blue collar trades, and now you're building this tech company. What do you think that most tech founders fundamentally misunderstand about like this blue collar space that you're in?
That's a really good question. I think it boils down to knowing your customers, the feedback, and actually sitting down, have a genuine conversation of what's frustrating with the current systems that they're using, of what's broken. I think that's where our huge advantage is I've been in the field, all of my team has been in the field and experienced and understands these massive pain points. And when you can figure out what they actually need, another one of our core values is see the customer, be the customer. And it's just like, when you can figure that out and pinpoint it from many conversations, not just one, but many, many conversations, and saying, how am I actually going to fix the problem, than just creating a bunch of technology around something that's already out there and just automating it, right? We're going to the root source of, hey, I'm up till 3 a.m. doing estimates. Or, hey, I don't know how I'm going to make payroll this week because I have 5-6 customers that aren't paying me on time. And I call them and they just send me to voicemail every single time. Identifying those areas and really digging deep and having those relationships, I think, is a key that's often overlooked when starting a business.
What was that core value?
See the customer, be the customer.
Be the customer.
Be the customer. Yep.
That's so awesome. All right, let's flip it. What have you had to adapt, change, unlearn, whatever, going from services founder to tech founder?
Ooh, that's a good one. Services space, construction, I always say it's very similar to the restaurant space as well. I mean, you have people, you have to worry about reviews, you have to worry about the equipment you have. It's a very intensive process. So when I was over on boots on the ground construction business, it's a ton of hands-on, and you get sucked into it so much because there's all these moving parts. So you're trying to fix everything, and you're working in the business, not on the business. Moving to more of a technology company, it's how am I working on the business, and being more of a strategy type role and position of the direction we want to go. It's also taking that step back where I think there's a lot of instant gratification on the services-based side, because I can get my team together, say, hey, we're going to do this, and we just go out and do it. With technology, it takes time, right? And it's a lot of planning beforehand and understanding what is essential and what do people actually need. So we have this method we use, which is nice to have and need to have, right? Is this something that we're building that's just nice to have and it would be, a cool update or a cool feature for someone? Or is this something that's a need to have based on that customer feedback, based on getting out there, actually talking with our first users of it? So I think that was definitely an adjustment of kind of removing myself back and kind of working more on it than me.
I do feel like building a tech company, it's oftentimes a different game of like you're playing a really long game. Yeah. And I mean, being any type of entrepreneur is a long game, but I do think in some services businesses, it's just like, how do we make cash money today? And in tech businesses, I oftentimes have a lot of my founders foregoing cash now because they have a longer game to play of like, my example is, not every customer is a good customer. So they have to really define their ICP and turn customers away where it's like, sure, you were willing to pay me cash money, but like you don't fit my ICP. Like I can't build my tech around you yet. Or really just trying to build like self-service of realizing, all right, like we just need to have these customers now that we need to build all the features around before we get more customers in, because this is too manual and we can't keep doing things manually. We have to have tech solve all of those problems. So yeah, it's just very different. All right, Eric, you've done it all. You've owned rentals, an Airbnb business, a house flipping business, a maintenance company, and now a tech startup.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're a serial entrepreneur, or are all of these businesses like somehow connected in your mind?
All absolutely connected. I like to call it tuition payments. I got that from someone on our leadership team. And
Tuition payments?
Tuition payments, yep. All learning experiences, right? Just, getting out there and actually doing it. And I think that's like one thing that I would tell my younger self and tell people that are looking to get into entrepreneurship. And they feel like, I think there's a lot of like paralysis by analysis, and you just got to make the jump, right?
Yeah.
Get out there, start doing it. It's a learning thing. It takes time. And having that exposure to all these different, it's all around, homes, repairs, fixes, but in all these different categories, which now I understand, hey, what are these actual pain points for Airbnb owners? For instance, I had an Airbnb and I was on vacation in Hilton Head, and it was during a heat wave in Nashville. And I get a call, hey, the HVAC is out. Oh my gosh, I don't want a 1-star review. The whole day I'm out on the beach walking around with my phone next to my ear trying to get an HVAC person out there to fix it. So I have those direct experiences from being in all those different places and understanding, hey, how can we fix these with what we're building? So they all correlate, as I've had those experiences, and what we're building can now impact all those different areas, but also too, just understanding business as a whole. Starting out in real estate was really nice. It's like I feel like for a lot of people, that's like the entry level when you start getting into business, and you're like, okay, I got to go get some money, and I got to manage my materials and what I'm doing, putting into this home, and you're managing the tenants, et cetera. And then you take it another step further, and you're like, oh, I think I have an idea for a business. And then you go in the business room, and it all just kind of stacks on top of each other in layers. But it's really that just overall experience of understanding business from the ground up that gives you such an advantage when you're out there and you really find that good idea and you're like, I want to take this and run with it.
What do you feel like is the hardest part about being the CEO of an early stage company that nobody warned you about, you didn't expect this go around?
Feel like it's the thing most people struggle with when they're starting a business, especially in a startup, is not working in the business, working on the business. But if I could go back and do one thing differently, which I did now, and it has changed my life as a CEO, is finding the right people. Finding the people that are motivated, that want to see that growth and want to be a part of something bigger. That is an absolute game changer. I used to always say that I felt like I was in the trenches every single night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. kind of deals. I'm the one pushing the boat. Find the right people that want to help you grow, that believe in you, also believe in the business, treat them well, and they will take you further than anything else.
Yeah.
It's not me pushing the boat, it's steering the boat. Now I got people I can count on, depend on. And if I would have known that a little bit earlier, I think that would have definitely helped. But tuition payments.
Yeah, I think you earned your stripes building other businesses for sure. So many of the founders I work with, I use some language around like you earn the right to play the next game.
I like that.
And some people, they
like
want to
that a
go
lot.
straight
Yeah.
to like, I'm going to play the $1 billion game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't know. All my other founders
You got to walk before
that
you can
are
run.
playing the $1 billion game, like they kind of earned each level to then even unlock to play like that $1 billion game. And one of the most like fundamental levels that I've seen across like my portfolio of founders is like they learn how to recruit people and really sell them on a bigger vision. They learn how to form a team.
Core values.
They learn how,
vision,
and
that.
it's just really hard to go if you've never done that before. It's a skill. You have to learn how to do it, and you have to want to learn how to do it and get better. And I feel like you've done such a fantastic job at that of like recruiting people who are like Team OneTap.
Not all the time. I had to learn those tuition payments. I remember hearing like people talk about core values all the time, like core values, and all that stuff. That doesn't matter or anything like that. And then, going through the process of, building these different businesses, bringing people on and seeing how fundamental that is in the business, because it's not always going to be easy. There's going to be some huge roadblocks you hit, and your team is everything. And if you all are aligned on that same goal, that core purpose of what you're going for, it's, I also thought too, I remember my first set of core values. Oh, geez. Those were a little
Do you
rough.
remember it? What was it?
They're pretty generic. I think it was like care, communication, a few other, community, just very generic. And what I learned was that core values are not something that you just pull out of thin air of what you want to be. It's who you are already as a team. So for instance, if we have one core value, which is fix the pool table.
Well, tell me all your core values now. Let's go through the list.
We won't go through all of them.
How many do you have?
It'll get long. We have about 6. So I'll give you this one. This one's a fun one. So fix the pool table comes from a situation where with your pros team, boots on the ground construction. And what happened was someone left on a shower. It was Airbnb. Someone left the shower on overnight, and that shower decided to leak and go through the floor into the basement. This is like a $1 million Airbnb, and it just finished. And the first people that were checking out were coming the next day. This is probably 10 o'clock at night. Water comes down into the basement, all over this pool table, all over the floor. It's soaked. We get the call. We say, hey, and it was someone that we had go out there, part of our team on a remodel or something. So we talked to the customer. He said, hey, we didn't leave the shower on. It's not necessarily what we caused, but we're going to fix it and we're going to make it right for you. So he goes, good luck, because I got people coming 6 a.m. tomorrow. So we all remained calm, got on the phone, started calling, coordinating of how we're going to fix this issue. We got in there. It was probably 11 o'clock. Took up all the floors, dehumidifiers, fans, all new flooring down, dried everything out, had it ready to go by like 2, 3 a.m. for the people to come in. And it's like, that was a past experience that we had. And we made it better too, because the existing floor, when it was laid out, you want to have your seams at least like a foot apart. So we redid it and like made it perfect, like a perfect install on the new flooring. And we put waterproof flooring in. So nothing like that should happen in the future. But it was that situation of it happened in the past. It's how each person naturally acted and who they were, how they handled this situation. We're calm. We made it right by the customer. We fixed the issue and then made it even better after fixing it. And that was a core value where we said, hey, this is already us. This is who we are as a company, not trying to pull some idea out of thin air of, hey, we want everyone to be this. And now when we say fix the pool table, everyone knows that story. Everyone knows that core value and what that means to us. And then we exemplify that as we go out through OneTap and talk with customers, et cetera. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Where is OneTap at today? Like, how big is your team? Who are you serving? And like, what is your vision for OneTap in the future?
Yeah, so we have about 20 W-2 employees, a few contractors as well. And, where we're currently at is we just launched live with it. So bringing in our first revenue, which is awesome.
Hey.
Yep, very exciting. And right now it's the focus on, again, see the customer, be the customer. Now we're pushing it out there. We want to get this thing out and we want to get the feedback of, hey, how can we make this better? And taking that kind of sniper approach on what's actually needed versus what's a nice to have. We want to build it for value, right? May not be the most prettiest thing in the world, but if that value is there, if it makes my life easier as an owner and operator, I'm gonna love the thing. And that was proof during our beta. We pushed a beta out for, it was probably a whole year. We had that out, just getting feedback. And someone, explained that to us. They're like, hey, I know this is your beta. It's a little bit clunky and everything, but this saves me so much time. There's the same person that said, I feel like I'm a bottleneck. They're like, I don't feel that anymore. And I love using it because it saves me time. I don't have to pick up the phone and call a million people. And that was proof that, hey, value was there. They liked using it because of value. If I can prove the value's there, everything else can come afterwards. So goals is right now we're focusing on Nashville. Our ICP, ideal customer profile, is restaurants, specifically multi-chain locations. We want 10% of the total TAM of restaurants, which is about 300 locations here in Nashville. As soon as we hit 10%, go-to-market strategy, we're following a similar go-to-market strategy as Home Depot, because if there's a lot of Home Depots around, that means you have a lot of trades. And you also have a lot of work being done. Guess what their go-to-market strategy is?
What?
NFL teams.
What?
Simple as that. NFL teams.
What do you mean?
Where there's an NFL team is where Home Depot goes. Pretty interesting, right?
That is very interesting.
So we're taking that same approach. So Tampa, Charlotte, Atlanta, Dallas are some of our key targets that we're looking at. So once we hit 10% in Nashville, we're going to expand our sales team into each of those cities, get 10% there. So we really want to be ideally by the end of the year in 10% of each market in the Southeast region.
I love it. How can folks follow along?
How can folks follow along?
Yeah, and see where OneTap goes and what you're up to.
Website, www.onetapfix.com is a great starting space. Constantly have updates. You can learn all about it through it. We also have my LinkedIn where I'm posting constant updates of the
You're on your content grind right now.
Some
Fun
client
to follow.
testimonials as well. And yeah, there's lots of good news coming out. So it's very exciting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it.